All right, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about the slight delay. Had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Everything seemed to be working fine, just couldn't get the title to update correctly. So, very, very strange, but very, very minor. So, everything appears to be working correctly. You guys let me know if you can hear everything correctly in the comment section, real quick. As long as we have that up and ready to go, we will get started. So I'll wait just a second for you guys to let me know. As soon as I see those comments rolling in, we'll get started here on some of the latest information as far as our severe weather outbreak this afternoon. So real quickly, it is 4:28 Central Time, 5:28 Eastern Time. This is Corey here in the Weather Center. Do appreciate all you guys tuning in. And I'm seeing the comments come in now, I believe, as far as everything. Okay, good. Appreciate all you guys. So, here is the latest radar. This is out of Western Tennessee. We have 2 tornado warnings in Western Tennessee. This one near Jackson, Tennessee is actually on the ground. So this is a confirmed tornado over here in Western Tennessee. Now, why this is significant is these storms is going to be moving into Kentucky. So this is what we're going to be watching here over the next 2 hours to see how these storms evolve. We have more storms down here, Mississippi, Alabama, that's going to be tracking into the middle to Western Tennessee area, and then we've got more storms down here in northern Mississippi that's also going to be moving up here into the middle Tennessee area. So this entire area is kind of what we are watching in the short term right over here in this specific area, because these storms are going to be moving into Western Kentucky and maybe even part of Central Kentucky relatively sooner this afternoon. So it's 4:30 right now. Again, we're probably looking at least another couple hours before they get into the Western Kentucky area, Western Central Kentucky area. Okay, so this area here in Kentucky, the Western, pretty much from I-65 and points to the west, have the highest tornado chance in the short term. So like I said, we're going to be watching this area relatively close here over the next couple hours, because these storms is what's going to eventually move into Western and Central Kentucky. So let's kind of get into the specific threats. Not going to go into a great deal of detail. We got a lot of information. I don't want to bog everybody down on the information scale, but we are under a wind advisory. You guys probably already know that. We've had gusty winds throughout the afternoon. Those wind gusts are going to continue. 20, 30 miles an hour sustained winds. Those gusts between 45 to 50 miles an hour is going to continue into the overnight hours. So the wind is not going to let up. The wind is going to continue. So those gusty winds are going to be able to blow around some unsecured objects. Tree limbs could blow around. Could see a few power outages. I did see a couple reports earlier in the Allendale community here in Greene County of some isolated power outages. So that's 100% a possibility. Winds this strong could obviously make driving difficult. If you're out having to drive around high-profile vehicles, please just use a little extra caution. Here's the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. Again, I've been preaching on this all year. This is what I'm focusing on this year. I don't want to focus on the specific threats. In the past, I've really been an advocate of whatever level risk you are, whether it be 2, 3, or 4, 5, whatever. I've really focused on that specific risk area. This year, I'm focusing more on impacts. And I know that all of the listening area here in Central Kentucky, the coverage area that I cover, your Greene, Taylor, and surrounding counties, along with Nelson and Washington County, that whole entire area is technically in that level 3 risk enhanced. We normally have at least a couple of these out of the year. It's not very, uncommon that we see these. These are pretty common things that happen here in Central Kentucky. Level 4 is a little bit more rare. That level 4 risk is from I-65 and to the west. So pretty much the western half of Kentucky, I-65, in my opinion, is kind of that halfway division point in the state of Kentucky. So from I-65 to the west is that level 4. And then you have extreme western Kentucky, the Paducah, Mayfield areas in that very, very rare level 5 high risk. We have not been under a high risk in Kentucky since March 2nd, 2012. So it's been 13 years since our last high risk. Very, very rare occasion. Regardless of that, I'm just going to let you guys know right now, I truly believe, again, I'm focusing on impacts here. The impacts is going to be a level 4 moderate for much of the area. That's what the impact is going to be. And this is what those risk categories mean. A level 4 moderate risk means that widespread severe storms are likely. Long-lived and widespread intense storms. Several severe storms are likely to be significant. So a couple examples of that are strong tornadoes, several reports of significant wind damage, destructive hail, 2+ inches. So even though we're technically in that level 3 risk, I'm focusing on impacts this year. That's the impacts. That moderate risk, all that stuff I just read to you guys, those are the impacts that I'm expecting here in Central Kentucky as we head into the overnight period, and potentially even with some of those supercell storms later on this afternoon. That level 5 high risk, which is way over in Western Kentucky. It's not anybody in Central Kentucky, but that is the area in Kentucky that's expected to see a widespread severe weather outbreak over there. Intense and long-lived storms, numerous severe storms likely to be significant. A couple of examples is tornado outbreak, widespread reports of significant wind damage, and destructive hail, 2+ inches. Not a huge difference between a level 4 and a 5. Level 5, probably going to see a few instances of stronger tornadoes, numerous tornadoes in the Category 5 area. But nonetheless, again, that moderate risk, that level 4, is the impacts that I'm expecting to see here in Central Kentucky. So along with that, let's go ahead and start looking at some of the tornado probabilities real quickly. This is the tornado probability from the Storm Prediction Center. Again, they are high. This is the areas that they highlight that has the highest chance to see tornadoes. Now, what this map means is that any given point on this map, that is your percentage of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. So Central Kentucky, the Green, Taylor, surrounding county area is still in that 10% hatched area. That means that there's a 10 to 14% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of any point inside of Central Kentucky. Now, Sunday night, same situation. We was in that 10% area, and there was 5 tornadoes within 25 miles of Central Kentucky. This black hatched line that you see means that there is a 10% probability of a significant tornado, EF2 to EF5 strength. So anybody in this black area, which is pretty much the entire state, or at least the western 2/3 of the state, has a chance to see a significant tornado, EF2 to EF5 intensity. If you look off to the west, basically from Louisville down to Bowling Green, it's where that tornado threat really gets a little bit higher. This is going to be your 15 to 29% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of any point. And then you get over here to western Kentucky, your Paducah, your Maysville area, your southern Illinois, southeastern Missouri, western Tennessee, northeastern Arkansas. You get into the 30 to 44% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of any given point. So that tornado threat really ramps up as you progress to the west into western Kentucky, specifically from I-65 and to the west. So let me show you guys one more thing. I don't really show these things a lot, and I'm not showing you guys this to get anybody. I don't want to give anybody PTSD, or I don't want to scare anybody. This is strictly for informative purposes. What you guys are seeing here is the newest NATOcast. Now, what is NATOcast, you might ask? So a NATOcast is a new project started several years ago. Uses machine learning, AI generated type forecast. You guys know here in 2025, AI is a big deal. It's used almost in every industry, and it's very, very effective. So AI in the weather industry is obviously beginning to become a thing. So it's an AI generated model that posts public weather simulations to calibrate probabilistic grids of tornado probability. So basically, it's an AI generated tornado forecast based off a couple different things. This is the newest NATOcast, is what they call it. NATOcast, it's on Twitter. This thing's been out for several years now. It's usually pretty accurate. This is the newest model. This is the newest update. It's only maybe about 20 minutes old. It has this 30% pink area. Pretty much all of western Kentucky and the northern part of middle and western Tennessee, all the way up into central Indiana. And then it has pretty much all of central Kentucky in that 30% risk category. This would be a pretty significant tornado increase if this happens to become accurate as we progress into tonight, into this afternoon, evening, and then again into tonight. So this is a big deal. This is brand new data. Don't want to scare anybody by no means, but this is just data I want you guys to see, because I want everybody to be prepared for the worst. We're hoping that nothing happens. We're hoping that some of these storms weaken. We're hoping we see kind of some storm activity develop that kind of takes away some of that energy. But it's not looking like that as of right now. But again, it's Kentucky weather. You guys never know what could happen. But we definitely want everybody to be prepared for the worst. So that is the latest NATOcast. Another thing I'm going to show you guys is a tornado chance here. This comes from, I can't think of the guy's name. Actually, I'll tell you real fast, since I like to give credit where credit's due. I don't know where this guy gets this information from. Let me find this guy. This guy's name is Bobby Bloyd. He is a retired National Weather Service meteorologist. Obviously, these maps that you're seeing here is model data that you can find online. I don't know the exact of what it's called or whatever, but Bobby Bloyd posts these maps on Twitter. And this is another AI-generated image. Again, AI is a big deal. In 2025, it's used in almost every industry. And these AI forecasts are usually pretty good. But this is StormNet AI. This is 11 p.m. to midnight tonight, sometime around that midnight time frame. This model is showing around a 60% chance of a tornado within 15 miles of any location. And that is pretty much from Bowling Green over to Campbellsville, all the way up to Lexington, and probably about 25 miles on either side. So a 60% chance of seeing a tornado within 15 miles of any given point is a pretty high chance for seeing a tornado. So these are two AI-generated images that I've seen over the past 30 minutes based off the data that's come in recently that has really increased our tornado chances, not only for this evening, but into tonight as well. So I need everybody to really be paying attention to the weather and stay weather aware as this afternoon, this evening progresses. So timing. This is the latest timing from the National Weather Service. Here in the central Kentucky area, right around the I-65 corridor, we're looking at probably between 10 p.m. all the way to 2 a.m. That would be the greatest, the best time frame I can give you guys. And this is Eastern time, by the way. This is for the main line. This is for the main line that's going to be progressing through the area later on tonight. We could still see some isolated supercells out ahead of the main line, and that's going to be what we're watching very closely in the short term. The long term, again, later on in tonight, that's going to be the main line. So we're looking at, again, somewhere around as early as 10 p.m. Eastern time and as late as 2 a.m. Eastern time. So I know that's another nighttime event. We're not overly excited about nighttime events, but that's typically what we deal with here in the central Kentucky area, is these nocturnal severe weather events. So that makes it even more dangerous. Severe weather at night makes everything a lot more dangerous than severe weather in the day. So anytime you have those nocturnal tornado events, it's a pretty big deal. So everyone definitely needs to be paying attention tonight. Let everybody know. Call your family, call your friends, make sure they're aware of the potential dangers of the severe weather tonight, and make sure they are staying up to date on the latest weather information. So let's look at the latest Futurecast radar here. This is going to give us a little bit better idea of how things are going to unfold. So right now it is almost 5 o'clock Central Time, and this is kind of what we're looking at right now. We've got storms down here in western Tennessee that has developed. That's what we're going to be watching in the short term. Of course, you see these storms develop. They continue to the north, and you look, this is 7 p.m. Central Time. Look at all these individual supercells lined up along the Kentucky-Tennessee border, from all the way down over to Arkansas, where Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky meet, all the way over to Clarksville. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 supercells that have developed. They look like they're actually pretty organized, maybe even some intense supercells, and maybe even another storm up here close to Bowling Green. Again, this is 7 p.m. Central Time. We get into 8 p.m. Central Time, and this is where I start to become concerned. Not really for the Green-Taylor surrounding county area, but places in western Kentucky. If you know people that live in western Kentucky, specifically west of I-65, they're going to be in a prime tornado threat. This area, there could be several long track and strong tornadoes before the day's over, and this could actually end up being a historic event. You look at the simulated radar at 8 p.m. Central Time. Again, we're still looking at a supercell around Paducah, a supercell just east of Paducah, a supercell near Maysville, a supercell down here in Todd County, and a supercell just to the west of Bowling Green at 8 o'clock Central Time. Those supercells move off to the north and east. This is 9 p.m. Central Time. We start to see these supercells kind of get entangled in the main line. Again, this is a very, very intense line of thunderstorms. Now, one thing I do want to point out with this line, when it comes through, typically what we see is storms transition from more of a tornado threat to more of a damaging wind threat. We have a lot of ingredients in the atmosphere that's going to be conducted for tornadic development. Now, I do think we will transition to mainly a damaging wind threat, but I still think we're going to be dealing with a pretty good tornado threat, and this line could definitely put out several tornadoes as it progresses to the east. But again, this is at 9 o'clock Central Time. These supercells that kind of had developed ahead of the main line start to get wrapped up into the main line, and then by 10 o'clock, pretty much those storms have congealed into one line. And this is going to be a pretty strong line. It looks like it weakens just a little bit, but the line gets into the Green-Taylor County surrounding area by 1 o'clock, 12 to 1 o'clock a.m. Central Time. Again, pretty organized line on the latest Futurecast. Doesn't see any signs of weakening tremendously. It does weaken just a little bit. That's typically what we deal with here in Central Kentucky. When we get into the early morning hours, we slowly start to lose that energy as the night progresses. So we typically see any type of severe weather, the energy slowly decrease as we progress into the night. So that's a little bit of good news, and that's one reason the Storm Prediction Center has that threat level going from a moderate to a level 3 enhanced risk as you get east of I-65. But regardless, I don't really care about the level 3 enhanced risk. I still think we're going to see the potential for some significant severe weather here in the central Kentucky area later on tonight. But that line pushes off to the east, and then again, the front's going to stall out. So we're going to see that front stall out. We're going to see some pretty good waves of rainfall all the way through tomorrow midday. Back to the tornado safety. Again, definitely want to make sure everybody is aware of the tornado safety. Be prepared for nighttime tornadoes. A couple things to kind of have around your room before you go to bed tonight, or if you go to bed tonight, is your NOAA weather radio. Test it. Make sure it's turned on to your local station. Have your safe place prepared. I cannot stress this enough. And what I mean by this is, what is your plan if a tornado warning is issued? Okay, if you live in a single-story home, your plan is going to be get to the centermost location. Have some pillows, blankets, maybe in your bathroom. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you have helmets you can put on, have those nearby. In case a tornado does approach, you can put those helmets on. You can get in a bathtub, put those pillows, blankets on top of you. Anything to protect you from the potential for a tornadic debris if a tornado happens to hit your location. If you live in a mobile home, make a plan of action. Like if a tornado warning's issued, I have a plan to hop in the car and go to a friend's house, or go to a family member's house, or go to a storm shelter that is opened up. There's 100 storm shelters opened up around the area. There's a lot of churches. You can go to your local county's emergency management page. They have those storm shelters updated and available for you guys to look at. Have a plan of action for that. If you have to stay in a mobile home, I strongly recommend against that. But some people strictly just cannot get out of your mobile home. If you can't, same scenario, you're going to get to the centermost point. You're definitely going to get pillows, blankets, whatever you can do. Get in a bathtub. Just try to protect yourself from you and the outside. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, as many barriers between you and the outside as possible. So that's what I mean by having your safe place, having your severe weather plan. Something else, flashlight and shoes. Can't stress that enough. If power goes out, you want to have a flashlight available to you. That way you can turn your flashlight on. Get around, relatively quickly. Shoes. You definitely want to have some shoes on, just in case a tornado does hit your area or damaging winds hit your area. You don't want to be walking around barefooted outside. That could be a dangerous situation as well. Cell phone, make sure it's turned on, charged, and your wireless emergency alerts enabled. So those are a pretty big deal when it comes to the severe weather potential for this evening and into tonight. So let's go back real quickly to the radar. And again, seeing a lot of storm development down here in western Tennessee. Going to go to the Hopkinsville radar site just to make sure there's nothing developing here in the central Kentucky, middle Tennessee area. And so this is what we're watching here, guys. Okay, so we're in wait and see mode is what we're waiting on right now. So this entire area here in western Tennessee and middle Tennessee, specifically for the central Kentucky area, this is what we have our eyes on. Because any of these storms that develop in this area, if they organize and tap into that energy in the upper atmosphere, tap into the energy that's already here in central Kentucky and in western Tennessee, that's where you could really see those storms blow up and form some pretty nasty supercells. So we're already seeing some storm development. We've got one severe thunderstorm warning, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 severe thunderstorm warnings down here on the southern part of this box that I have drawn here. And then we have a pretty distinct tornado warning going on in Jackson, Tennessee. And then if that wasn't enough, we have more storm development on the eastern side of this box that I have drawn. So we're going to watch this to see how all this evolves here over the next couple hours. Real quick, let's get down here to the Jackson, Tennessee area. Let me make sure this is out of the Memphis radar site. It is not. There we go on that one. So Jackson, Tennessee, I mean, this looks like it's a radar indicated threat. Let's look at the velocity on this one real quick. Definitely showing some rotation, pretty much right on top of Jackson, Tennessee. This did, if I remember correctly, this did produce a tornado just a few minutes ago. But you can really see the hook on this storm right over Jackson, Tennessee. A lot of inflow going into this storm. Lots of pretty good rotation as well. Let's look on correlation coefficient real quick. Don't really see anything that looks suspicious there. But again, looking at the velocity mode here, definitely rotation showing up on radar pretty clear. You got your winds going in different directions here on just to the west of Jackson, Tennessee. This area rotation is going to be moving off to the northeast. Again, that rotation did get a little bit stronger on that one right there. Let me real quickly let me look at radar scope, see if there's anything suspicious looking at it from this perspective. Yeah, pretty strong area of rotation. Want to check to see if there's anything on correlation coefficient. Don't see anything yet. But again, that's a very strong area of rotation in Jackson, Tennessee, and that is moving off to the northeast. If it continues on its current trajectory, it would be right around the Clarksville area in probably about an hour or so. How fast is this moving? Moving to the northeast at 50 miles an hour. So this would continue to progress off to the northeast. So that's all I have for you guys right now. Again, I know a lot of people they've got PTSD. They're worrying themselves to death. But we're gonna pray and hope that these storms don't form like they could. Okay, but we're gonna take it one step at a time. I'm going to keep you guys updated, and I'm going to keep watching this radar, and I'll do live updates at least every hour or so, and then once we get into where these storms are really producing, obviously we'll go live with that. And then there's that new extension on that warning. Like I say, expires in an hour and 16 minutes. That's a little weird. Until 6 o'clock, I guess so. Why does that warning last so long? Why is that an hour and 6-minute warning? Very interesting. Anyways, regardless, again, this storm has a trajectory near Clarksville. So if you know people that live near Clarksville, Tennessee, this area of rotation is moving off toward Clarksville. And again, if it continues on its trajectory, it would move into the western part of central Kentucky between Hopkinsville and Bowling Green later on this afternoon. So I'm going to watch things closely. Again, watching things very closely. And I'll be on keeping you guys updated. So stay weather aware.